In 2023, China did something the world thought was insane. They flew millions of fish into one of the driest places on Earth, the Taklamakan Desert. No ocean, no rivers, just scorching heat and salt-crusted sand. Experts called it madness. Locals called it impossible. But behind the scenes, scientists and engineers had a plan. They weren't just hoping for survival, they were designing a revolution. Now, 1 year later, the results are in. Fish, crabs, pearls, all thriving in the desert. And this isn't just working, it's rewriting the rules of farming, food, and the future of life in hostile climates. A desert, a bold vision. In the blistering heart of China's Taklamakan Desert, a place with no coastlines, salt-crusted soils, and temperature swings of over 40 degrees, scientists proposed something no one saw coming. Aquaculture. Fish farms, not near oceans, but in sand, not with natural rivers, but with buried reservoirs in synthetic seawater. The initial reaction? Laughter, doubt. Headlines called it ecological madness. But China didn't back off, it leaned in. In 2023, government planners, local officials, and marine biologists came together with a vision that felt more like science fiction. Their pitch was radical. Xinjiang could feed the country, not with crops, but with fish. Their case was rooted in geography and timing. With global oceans under pressure and arid regions being left behind, what if deserts could join the food chain? Critics warned it was environmental suicide. A fish farm in a desert is like planting rice in Antarctica, said one European analyst. The risks were real: over-extraction of water, fragile ecosystems, and tech breakdowns. But China's team countered with one clear response: we know the desert better than anyone. And so against every instinct and industry rulebook, the work began. Not with loud headlines, but quiet infrastructure. Ponds, piping, testing sites. The plan wasn't just to prove it could work, it was to make it last. What came next would stun the world. You can't grow seafood without water. That's the first rule of aquaculture. And yet, in a desert like the Taklamakan, it wasn't rain they needed, it was knowledge. Beneath the sand, beyond the heat, Xinjiang had been hiding a secret for centuries. It wasn't dry, it was untapped. And with the right science, even hidden water can turn to life. Uncovering hidden waters. What most people didn't realize is that Xinjiang, despite its sandstorms and scorching heat, holds 5,500 square kilometers of fresh water. Glacial meltwater flows down from the Tian Shan Mountains, feeding into reservoirs, ancient rivers, and even underground tunnels called carets. These were built centuries ago to preserve flow and reduce evaporation. A desert adaptation long before climate tech had a name. That ancient water system became the foundation for something new. Reservoirs originally used for farming and drinking were repurposed as fish hatcheries. Cold, oxygen-rich water, ideal for salmon, trout, and shellfish, flowed naturally. Engineers added filtration and pumping stations, blending old knowledge with new hardware. It's not just about water, said hydrologist Liu Wen. It's about controlled water. The carets system, once fading into history books, got a second life. Revamped and mapped with AI-assisted sensors, it now helps balance flow between glacial sources and desert ponds. Instead of pumping water above ground and losing half to evaporation, the carets carries it quietly beneath the surface, preserving every drop. In a place where every liter counts, that's a game changer. Suddenly, the desert didn't look dead, it looked misread. People saw sand, one local said. We saw storage. And in 2023, that hidden storage became the veins of an entire aquaculture system. One pumping life into a place the world had long given up on. With water secured and systems built, Xinjiang was ready for the next step. Not theory, not models, but life. In July 2023, aircraft landed carrying millions of aquatic seedlings, some still twitching in foam-lined crates. From the coast to the desert, fish were on the move. The invasion wasn't military, it was biological, and it would rewrite what a desert could hold. launching an aquatic invasion. In the searing heat of Xinjiang summer, something unthinkable happened. Fish arrived, not just any fish. Millions of seedlings, salmon from inland hatcheries, crabs from Zhejiang, crayfish bred in freshwater labs, and 2,000 grouper flown in live from Hainan Island. Inside temperature-controlled trucks, the desert's first seafood citizens crossed over the dunes and into their engineered homes. The headline species was the pearl gentian grouper, a hybrid valued for its rich flavor and market price. The goal? Raise 6.2 tons in 12 months, netting nearly $900,000 in revenue. That wasn't a test batch. That was a business model. "This isn't a demo, it's a deployment," said aquaculture lead Guo Fei. And it didn't stop with fish. Kiamo County launched pearl oyster farming, yes, in the desert. Indoor tanks acclimated oysters to the saline mix. Lighting rigs mimicked moonlight cycles. By early 2024, millions had been seeded into carefully balanced ponds, with harvest targets set for late 2025. It sounded ridiculous, but it worked. From above, the transformation looked like a desert mosaic. Blue-green squares bordered by monitoring stations, shaded areas, and solar rigs. From the ground, it felt alive. "The air even smells different now," one local said. "You walk past and hear water and fish moving." Xinjiang didn't just add water, it added pulse. And suddenly the word farming meant something very different in the world's most unlikely fishery. Engineering desert seas. The desert wasn't just getting wetter, it was becoming intelligent. Xinjiang's aquaculture wasn't about filling pits with water and tossing in fish. It was an engineering challenge, down to the molecule. Every pond needed balance: temperature, salinity, oxygen. And with no sea nearby, scientists had to build an ocean from scratch. They began by replicating seawater chemistry. In naturally saline alkali areas, where nothing grows, they created saltwater ponds. Lab-verified mineral blends were added to mirror marine environments. Indoor nurseries raised young species under tightly controlled light and temperature. Once ready, fish were slowly moved outside, adapting week by week. The desert didn't shock them, it nurtured them. New species joined the lineup: abalone, lobsters, shrimp, tilapia. Each got its own habitat plan. Crustaceans needed different sand textures. Shellfish needed filtered flow. Water wasn't just held, it was cycled through pumps, UV sterilizers, and oxygen diffusers. Technicians monitored it all through mobile apps and touchscreen panels. "We don't farm fish," one operator said. "We manage ecosystems." Sensors tracked everything: salinity, pH, nitrate levels, turbidity. When oxygen dipped, aerators kicked on. When water warmed, chillers buzzed to life. Probiotics replaced antibiotics, maintaining healthy microbial balance. The result? Lower mortality, cleaner ponds, and longer harvest windows. The desert didn't fight back. It cooperated, if you listened closely enough. But not all of Xinjiang's fish came from salt. Some came from ice. Up in the highlands, snowmelt filled vast reservoirs, cold, clear, and untouched. While scientists built seawater in the flats, others looked to the mountains for something different. What they found was perfect for one of the world's most valuable and finicky species: salmon. Cold water reservoir revolution. Xinjiang's reservoirs, fed by Tian Shan glacial melt, became an unlikely paradise for salmon. With year-round temperatures hovering near 12 degrees, these deep, oxygen-rich waters offered exactly what salmon need to grow, without a single coastline in sight. Engineers designed floating pens anchored to reservoir beds. Each pen was equipped with automatic feeders and solar-powered sensors. Juvenile salmon, raised in hatcheries, were transferred after a few months. From there, they entered a 3-year growth cycle, slow, steady, and monitored down to the gram. The quality was stunning. Salmon from these reservoirs had firmer meat, better omega profiles, and a mineral flavor unique to the local water. Chefs in Shanghai and Guangzhou reported rave reviews. "The mouthfeel is clean," said one buyer. "You'd never guess it was desert-grown." To keep pace with demand, processing centers were built next to the reservoirs. Each could handle up to 50 tons per day, filleting, chilling, and packing fish within hours of harvest. Cold chain trucks rolled them out by sunset, reaching major cities by dawn. Xinjiang wasn't just producing fish. It was delivering fresher, faster, and more sustainably than many coastal hubs. And suddenly, salmon wasn't a luxury import. It was a local product from a desert that was never supposed to produce anything at all. While the reservoirs gave rise to high-end salmon, the flatlands began producing something humbler, but just as profitable. In Hotan's salty soil, crustaceans like crabs and crayfish started crawling and thriving. And unlike salmon, these didn't require huge facilities, just ponds, patience, and smart integration. The next success story didn't just raise seafood, it raised incomes. Crabs and crayfish thrive. In the far reaches of Hotan, where saline soil once scorched crop roots, farmers tried something new, crabs. Specifically 30,000 crab fry flown in from Zhejiang. These weren't experiments. They were business models. Within months, the crustaceans matured in desert ponds, delivering firmer shells and sweeter meat than their coastal cousins. Because the salty soil altered the water profile, giving the crabs unique flavor and texture. The desert didn't just support growth, it improved quality. It's like the Wagyu of crabs, one local vendor said. Crayfish followed fast, but they didn't come alone. Farmer Ma Chunhua led an initiative to pair crayfish with aquatic plants. The plants cleaned the water, reduced algae, and even shaded the ponds during hot spells. It was symbiotic farming, no chemicals, minimal upkeep. The crayfish dug in, the plants thrived, so did Ma's wallet. His yields hit 150 kg per mucum, roughly a sixth of an acre. With prices stable, each farmer earned over $50,000 a year. In rural Xinjiang, that was life-changing. The local co-op started with 4 members. Within a season, it doubled, and more were asking to join. The ponds didn't just grow crustaceans, they grew opportunity. And for the first time in generations, Hotan's farmers weren't fighting the desert, they were farming with it. Pearls from the sand. If turning deserts into fish farms sounded ambitious, Xinjiang's next move bordered on surreal: cultivating pearls. In late 2023, Kiemo County launched a full-scale pearl oyster program. These weren't symbolic gestures or pilot tests. Millions of baby oysters were seeded into specially designed desert ponds. With them came a simple question: could the desert produce jewels? Pearl farming requires 3 things: clean water, stable conditions, and time. Kiemo had the first 2. The third was now in motion. Oysters, known for their sensitivity, responded well to the desert's light. High UV exposure, long days, and mineral-rich water sped up nacre formation. What would take years in a bay was happening faster in Xinjiang's engineered ponds. Sunlight here is brutal, but consistent, said Wang Haoran, a technician overseeing one of the pearl sites. We use it to trigger faster layering. We adjust temperature and pH digitally. The oysters do the rest. Controlled environments meant fewer parasites, no boat traffic, and minimal contamination. By mid-2024, early test pearls began to form. The shape and sheen were promising. Jewelers described them as warmer and creamier in hue, thanks to the unique mineral profile of the desert water. These weren't just marketable, they were signature pieces, authentic desert pearls. Beyond beauty, there was science. Pearl oysters are natural filters. A single oyster can clean up to 190 liters of water per day. As the farms grew, water quality in the ponds improved, reducing algae blooms and supporting other aquaculture species. The oysters weren't just producing value, they were purifying systems. Already, jewelry designers and exporters are expressing interest in Xinjiang as a new luxury source. Workshops are being set up near Kiemo. Pearls, once only a coastal product, may soon carry desert DNA. And that shift, from commodity to craft, means more jobs, more income, and a new layer of identity for the region. But even the best oysters, fish, and crustaceans won't thrive without precision. As the desert farms scaled, so did their complexity. Dozens of ponds, hundreds of variables, thousands of lives depending on sensors, systems, and timing. That's when Xinjiang's aquaculture moved into its next evolution, not just clean water and smart layouts, but real-time high-tech farming intelligence. High-tech aquaculture. Behind Xinjiang's shimmering ponds lies an invisible network of machines, monitors, and digital logic. This isn't backyard fish farming, it's a data-driven, cloud-controlled system that watches every ripple, every breath, every degree of water temperature. Welcome to intelligent aquaculture. Every major pond is equipped with real-time monitoring arrays, salinity gauges, temperature probes, dissolved oxygen sensors, pH trackers. These devices are linked to central dashboards, accessible via tablets, smartphones, even smartwatches. If a pond's oxygen level dips, a farmer gets a ping. If ammonia spikes, filters auto-adjust. We respond before the fish even feel it, said systems engineer Lu Zi. Feeding, once manual and often wasteful, is now optimized. Infrared cameras track fish movement to determine hunger levels. Feeders adjust portions based on density and species. No more overfeeding, no more dead zones. Result: cleaner water, fatter fish, and slashed costs. Temperature controls are just as smart. During heat waves, cooling panels lower pond temps. During cold snaps, submerged heaters keep conditions stable. Everything is solar-powered and backed by off-grid batteries, meaning 24/7 operation without stressing the local energy grid. Then comes the cold chain, the critical bridge from pond to plate. As soon as seafood is harvested, it's immediately flash-chilled in mobile processing units. These can store products at 5 degrees Celsius, ready for delivery in under an hour. Cold chain trucks roll out twice a day, hitting major cities across China in under 24 hours. And that reach? It's fueled by e-commerce. Live-stream seafood sales on platforms like Taobao and Douyin are booming. Customers order Xinjiang salmon or crab in real time. With GPS tracking, they know when it left the pond, how long it's been on ice, and exactly when it'll arrive. Tech didn't just support Xinjiang's aquaculture, it made it possible. Because in a desert, nature won't help you, but code will. The fish were growing, the systems were humming, and the desert, once written off as barren, was now producing food at industrial scale. But this wasn't just a scientific victory, it was an economic lifeline. Thousands of jobs, billions in product. A region once reliant on subsidies now had something to sell. And the numbers were just starting to roll in. Economic transformation. By the end of 2023, Xinjiang's aquaculture program had moved from curiosity to commerce. The region produced 184,000 tons of aquatic goods, everything from salmon to groupers, from crayfish to oysters. That output was worth $3.86 billion, not over 10 years, in one. Salmon alone brought in $30 million into projected revenue with a stable 600-ton yield. Groupers, once considered too sensitive for inland farming, delivered nearly $1 million. Online sales surged 106% year over year, hitting $395 million. This wasn't just growth, it was ignition. But more important than numbers were the names. 13,600 people got jobs, most from farming villages. Pond managers, logistics coordinators, sensor technicians, and e-commerce streamers. For many, it was the first job that paid well and didn't require leaving home. I used to migrate for factory work, said one 28-year-old crab farmer. Now I live stream my harvest and make more than before. Income levels rose, co-ops expanded, schools reopened with new funding. Small businesses, from tool makers to food packers, grew around the farms. Roads were improved. Internet coverage strengthened. Aquaculture didn't just feed people, it rebuilt local economies. And the best part? It was scalable. The infrastructure was replicable. The logistics model worked. Xinjiang had gone from importer to exporter, from aid receiver to market driver. In just 12 months, the desert had rewritten its economic destiny, powered by water, tech, and belief. Environmental and food security wins. Xinjiang's aquaculture revolution isn't just about profits or prestige, it's an environmental milestone. For the first time, one of the world's most hostile landscapes is producing food without hurting ecosystems. In fact, it's improving them. Desert seafood is now a serious solution to two massive global challenges: overfished oceans and food insecurity. By growing inland, Xinjiang helps relieve pressure on China's vulnerable coastal fisheries. Salmon and grouper raised in reservoirs and ponds mean fewer boats in the East China Sea, fewer nets scraping ocean floors, and less disruption to marine biodiversity. The Taklamakan isn't just feeding people, it's giving oceans time to recover. More importantly, these farms use zero antibiotics and near-zero emissions. Unlike traditional aquaculture, which often pollutes or consumes massive resources, Xinjiang's model is self-contained. Water is recycled through filters and bioreactors. Fish waste is converted to nutrient inputs for plants or algae. Solar power fuels everything, from pumps to oxygenators to processing facilities. Even land use is smart. Saline alkali zones, once considered dead zones for farming, are now thriving. These areas weren't suitable for wheat, corn, or vegetables. But with a little salt tolerance and engineered water chemistry, they've become seafood nurseries. This means no forests are cleared, no wetlands are drained. It's pure net gain. Food security is the final puzzle piece. By producing protein-rich food far from the sea, China gains resilience against climate shocks, geopolitical tensions, and trade disruptions. In a world where seafood demand is rising and fish stocks are shrinking, Xinjiang offers a scalable, sustainable, and shock-resistant model. This isn't just about fish, said one official. It's about survival. But the success in Xinjiang isn't staying in Xinjiang. As global temperatures climb and droughts hit harder, countries from Africa to the Middle East are asking the same question. If China can raise seafood in the sand, why can't we? What began as an experiment is now a global template, and Xinjiang's fish are swimming toward the world. Scaling a global blueprint. In 2024, Xinjiang's desert aquaculture model became more than a local triumph. It became a global blueprint. Today, over 100 aquatic species are farmed in these inland systems, and foreign governments, universities, and NGOs are lining up to learn how they did it. Delegations from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and Kenya have already visited Xinjiang's test zones. They've toured ponds in Hotan, crawled inside smart reservoirs in Yutian, and seen pearls forming in Kiemo. The reaction is universal. Awe, not just at the biology, but at the system design, the energy use, the economics. Xinjiang's model is modular. It doesn't rely on unique local features. It's built on processes: how to balance water, how to mimic seawater, how to use tech for control. That makes it exportable. Already, pilot projects are being discussed for Jordan's desert corridors, Mauritania's drought zones, and inland India. "We thought oceans were essential," said a visiting official. "Now we know that was a myth." Partnerships are also forming with universities. Tsinghua and Zhejiang tech teams are now collaborating with researchers in South Africa and Chile. They're testing heat-resilient crayfish breeds, mineral-adapted algae strains, and AI-based feeding systems. Xinjiang, once an afterthought, is now an innovation hub. The big shift? Aquaculture is no longer just about fish. It's about resilience. And in a warming world, resilience sells. The physical farms changed the desert. But the deeper change was mental. What people thought about deserts, about farming, about what's possible, it all shifted. A space once viewed as lifeless became a symbol of adaptability. And it echoed an older Chinese lesson: when the land won't give you food, reshape the land until it does. Breaking conventional mindsets. Before the fish, before the pearls, Xinjiang's desert was a symbol of what couldn't be done. No food, no crops, just endless sand and heat. Now, it's a case study in rewriting what's possible. This isn't just science, it's a shift in mindset, one that's rippling across the globe. It follows in the footsteps of another revolutionary idea, Yuan Longping's desert rice. In 2021, his salt-tolerant rice varieties were planted in places no rice had ever grown, delivering real yields. That moment cracked open the idea that deserts could produce staples. Aquaculture just pushed it further. showing that even high-value, delicate ecosystems could be engineered in the harshest terrain. And nature responded. Flooding events in 2024 revealed new aquifers under the desert floor, suggesting Xinjiang's hydrology is more complex than once thought. Bird populations are returning, algae blooms are under control, some native plant species are even regrowing along aquifarm edges. When humans collaborate with nature, instead of fighting it, something remarkable happens. What's more, people are changing. Farmers see themselves as tech managers. Young students are applying to aquaculture colleges. Investors are treating the desert like the next big market. In short, deserts are being rebranded, from death zones to design challenges. And that reframing may be Xinjiang's most valuable export. And now the results speak for themselves. Not in charts, in harvests, in waves, in pearls pulled from desert water. 1 year after the world laughed at the idea of fish and sand, China's Taklamakan farms are alive and expanding. The desert isn't just blooming, it's producing, and the rest of the world is taking notes. 1 year later, a new era dawns. June 2024. 1 year since Xinjiang's aquaculture push began in earnest. Fish are swimming, crustaceans are crawling, pearls are shining, and Xinjiang is no longer asking if desert farming can work. It's asking what's next. Local economies have transformed. Youth unemployment is down. Export permits are up. Online sales of desert seafood are trending across Chinese platforms. It's not a novelty anymore. It's a brand, and it's working. Salmon shipments head to major cities weekly. Pearls are being sold under a desert luster label. Farmers report record earnings, and environmental monitors show stable systems, clean, balanced, and replicable. Even internationally, this project has become a symbol, a reminder that human imagination, paired with technology and patience, can break any boundary. China took the driest place it had and gave it life, without stealing from rivers, without draining oceans, without wasting land. And the implications? They're global. What deserts could host food next? What other ecosystems could be unlocked? Not exploited, but enabled. What other impossible ideas are waiting for the right people to try? Because the Taklamakan didn't just grow fish, it grew proof. 1 year later, the Taklamakan Desert is no longer a symbol of lifelessness. It's a thriving blueprint for what's possible. Fish swim in glacial-fed ponds. Crabs burrow through engineered saltwater beds. Pearls shimmer in desert sunlight. And from Beijing to Dubai, leaders are paying attention. Xinjiang didn't just grow food, it grew belief that even the harshest land can be reimagined. That climate change doesn't just demand adaptation, it demands invention. And maybe, just maybe, the future of global farming won't come from lush valleys or coastal plains, but from the deserts we once feared, now turned into engines of survival and hope.